time. Why would you need a coach just to help you get a job? Why can't you get this job on your own, right? Like I never had anyone help me get my job, right? And this is exactly why. So I want to show you guys some pretty mind-blowing data, okay? Specifically around just how selective it is to break into investment banking, because as we all know, investment banking is extremely hard to get into. And even though everyone kind of knows that, after having spoken to thousands of students and parents of these students, I think what most people don't understand is just how difficult it is to actually break into this specific industry. Okay, so I'm going to compare the acceptance rate of some of the top investment banks in the world to the acceptance rate of some of the most elite institutions in the United States. Okay, so the first group I want to start with is the M7 MBA program. So these are widely considered to be the top 7 business schools in the country, right? And so that's this blue group right here that you see on this chart. And the most selective one is Stanford, and they only accept about 6.7% of their class, and this is based on the class of 2021, okay, which is the most recent year that we have data for, all the way to Kellogg, which is basically Northwestern, right? Northwestern University's business school, they accept up to 26% of their applicant pool. So that's actually 1 out of 4, which is not too bad, right? So you'll see that for the top 7 business schools, it's anywhere from 7 to 26%, and the average, or the median actually, is about 19%. Okay, so about 1 out of 5, which is pretty selective, but not too bad. Then you look at the undergrad level, and so for the undergrad level, I think the best group to look at when it comes to elite institutions is obviously the Ivy League schools, right? So for the Ivy League schools, it's not a surprise that the hardest one to get into is Harvard, right? And they come in with 4.5%. That's what the percentage of the applicants that they actually accept, all the way up to Cornell, which is quote unquote the easiest one to break into, and they accept 10.6% of their applicant pool. And this is based on their class of 2023 acceptance rate, which again is the most recent data that we have as of today. Okay, so that looks a lot lower than the M7 business school. So getting into college is actually, at least the top colleges, is harder. And look, that's not surprising. It's because these colleges are also getting a lot more applicants than the top business schools, right? And so of course the percentage is going to be lower in terms of acceptance. Now, let's look at a third category, which is professional sports. Okay, the percentage of NCAA Division I athletes that actually get drafted into either the NBA, NFL, NHL, or MLB. Okay, so those are the 4 major sports, right? The lowest is the NBA at 1.2%. The NFL follows that at 1.6%. The NHL 7.4%. MLB 9.9%. Okay, and so anywhere from 1.2 to 9.9%, but specifically, I want to call your attention to the NBA and NFL. Those are the 2 most popular sports leagues, right? They're in the 1 to 2% range, okay? And so I know that growing up, it's funny, my childhood dream was to become a professional basketball player in the NBA, right? Until I quickly realized, probably when I was a teenager, that I'm probably just not talented enough and don't have the God-given abilities to play in a league like that, right? However, we all know just how difficult it is to break into a professional sports league, right? Now let's look at how difficult it actually is to break into some of the top investment banks in the world. Okay, again, this is only based on publicly available data, right? Because not all banks disclose this. So first, let's look at Goldman Sachs. Okay, Goldman Sachs had 270,000 applications in 2019, and they hired about 2,800 people. Okay, so that's a 1.03% acceptance rate, actually lower than even the NBA, right? Then we look at Morgan Stanley. They had 96,000 applications, and out of that pool, they hired 1,300 people. And so that's 1.35%. Slightly higher, still right in line with the acceptance rate or the percentage of people that get drafted into the NBA and the NFL, right? Then we look at Citi, which is another bulge bracket bank, right? This data is just for their London location because they didn't disclose the data for their global numbers. But even just in the UK alone, they got over 22,000 applications. They only accepted 256 people. That's a 1.14% acceptance rate. Last but not least, Deutsche Bank. Okay, even Deutsche Bank, which is a bank that's been, cutting headcount recently and not doing so hot in the last couple of years. Even back in 2018, they still got over 110,000 applications. And out of that pool of candidates, they only hired 800 people, which is 0.72%. Okay, so just in case you think I'm making all these numbers up, I've clearly listed all of my sources at the bottom of this slide, so you can see the exact articles or websites that I got these statistics from. These are not made up numbers, okay? And so the takeaway is that, look, to get into investment banking, it's actually harder than breaking into a top business school, getting into an Ivy League undergrad, and it's on par or even slightly harder, statistically speaking. I'm not saying, from a physical standpoint, but statistically speaking, it's on par or even slightly harder than going from being a college athlete to becoming a professional athlete. Okay, so this really answers the question that I actually get from a lot of parents, because a lot of times after the students speak with us and they want to work with us and they want Wall Street Mastermind's help in terms of breaking into investment banking, they have to go speak to their parents about it, and their parents don't understand. It's like, well, why do you even need help? Like, why do you need to use something like Wall Street Mastermind? Why would you need a coach just to help you get a job? Why can't you get this job on your own? Right? Like, I never had anyone help me get my job, right? And this is exactly why, because if you look at all these different categories that I just showed you, think about top business schools. It's very, very common for business school applicants to actually hire MBA consultants, MBA admissions consultants who previously used to work in the admission offices of these schools, right? Because it's very, very hard to get in to these institutions. But if you can get in, it's worth a lot, right? The ROI is massive on that investment. Now, same thing for undergrads, right? Like, a lot of people will actually hire college admissions consultants, same idea, right? To help them get into the Ivy League schools and whatnot. Even, professional athletes, right? We don't ever hear people question why professional athletes need coaches to help them along the way, right? Like, even if you're LeBron James, okay, or Tom Brady, or pick whoever you want, to go from, being an amateur athlete to becoming a pro athlete and being at the pinnacle of your profession, even the most gifted athletes in the world, they've all had help from coaches, strength trainers, nutritionists, just, all sorts of mentors along the way, right? Because anybody who wants to be successful has most likely had a mentor along the way who helped them get there, right? Most people don't get to the top of the mountain on their own, right? And so this is not kind of like a popular thing to do or a widely commonly seen thing yet as far as investment banking recruiting goes. But, here at Wall Street Mastermind, our goal is to change that, right? Because we know how many students are out there who just are totally struggling with knowing what to do to break into this industry and struggling to stand out from all the competition that's out there. And they just need a little bit of guidance. They're very hardworking, they're very talented, they're very ambitious. And if they just had someone point them in the right direction, they're going to put in the work, and they know that they can break into even the most elite and prestigious firms, in the world, right? And once they're able to do that, that's going to help their entire career take off completely, right? It's going to alter the trajectory of their career. We're basically making the slope of that trajectory a lot steeper, okay? And so just wanted to share this with you guys. These numbers were pretty mind-blowing when I first came across them, and I think hopefully you found this to be informative too. All right. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're looking for more customized advice that's tailored for your specific situation, then I invite you to book a free strategy session with our team at the link below. We'll talk to you soon.